Hi, guys.
I'm so excited!
I am incredibly excited to have you all here tonight. Thank you for coming. We have got a good show for you tonight. And I'm glad you could be here on our launch day. So we're going to have a bunch of presentations. I'm going to tell you what we do. Then Andrew, my co-founder, is going to explain to you the nuts and bolts of Firebase, how it works. Then we got Vikrum in the back there, who's going to walk you through a quick game that we built. Then we have 9 2.5-minute presentations of people who have built apps on top of Firebase. We've got some great people here. They built some great stuff, and I'm super excited that they could all be here. Finally, we'll wrap up with some Q&A, and then we'll let you guys get back to the party. There we go. Beer is always popular. So what is Firebase?
Awesome.
Okay, we're done. So Firebase is a scalable, real-time backend. So what does that mean? That means that you can build apps really fast without worrying about servers or writing server code. So Firebase takes the process of building an app, which right now is long and it's hard and it's painful, and we make it fast and easy. So right now, when you're building apps, you need to use several components. You need to use servers, databases, server code, networking code, and finally, front-end code. And that's the code that your users interact with. So Firebase changes all of this. With Firebase, all you do is you write the front-end code, and we take care of the rest. Now, this is a big deal. And it's a big deal for 3 reasons. Reason number 1, it speeds up app development immensely. So what used to take weeks now takes minutes. Number 2, it's a big deal because you get to focus on what's most important, which is making your customers happy. Users don't care that their new phone has 50 cores. They care that it works, and they care that they have a good experience. With Firebase, you get to focus on creating a great experience for your users. And third, it's a big deal because all of your apps are now completely real-time. So this is not a buzzword. This is not a buzzword. Building real-time apps is hard. Making the internet instantaneous is hard. And then try scaling that. But we've done this before. So our team has built technology, real-time technology, that powers chat on over 70,000 websites, and it serves tens of millions of users each month. So we've done this before. Firebase is a big deal because it makes real-time not only accessible, but it makes it easy. So you can build pretty much any type of cloud app on Firebase. The sky is literally the limit. You can build games, you can build social apps, you can build collaboration apps, presentation apps, education apps, and we'll be seeing many of those here tonight. So there are an ever-growing number of apps being released out there. And so Firebase is reducing the barrier to entry. So you haven't seen anything yet. There's also this great trend of browser technology maturing and becoming pervasive. So this means that in the future, you'll have an ever-growing population able to build more apps that get more momentum. And this future is going to be powered by Firebase. So I'm going to turn it over to Andrew now, and he's going to give you some nuts and bolts of how Firebase works. Then we're going to move on to Vikrum, and then we'll move on to our presentations.
Hey everyone, can you hear me in the back? I am really excited that you guys are all here tonight, and I'm really excited about some demos I'm about to show you. We're building a whole new way for you to write applications. This makes it radically easier to build quality apps quickly. And we do this with 4 core concepts. The first core concept is real-time synchronization. Second is data accessibility. The third is that you don't need servers at all. And the fourth is that scaling is automatic. So what does this mean? First, real-time synchronization. We're replacing the traditional request response model that people use for their apps today with a different paradigm. This allows developers to merge their existing data storage and real-time messaging code into one simple cloud API. This makes it radically simpler to build your application. Let's take a look at what this looks like. This is a simple HTML5 drawing application. It's built with front-end technologies, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. There's no server code, there's no networking code. It's just front-end code. I'm using Firebase to store the pixel data for this drawing application. And as a result, automatically, I get this effect. Remember, there's no server code here, and there's no networking code. There's just R14K JavaScript include, and some front-end logic. The real-time synchronization approach has another important benefit, and that's that we persist your data. So in this example, if I refresh the page, my internet dies. Try it over here. Well, my internet died. Generally, if I refresh the page, there we go. All of your data is still there. The second core concept is data accessibility. We make all of your data accessible through a unique URL. Each piece, every string, every Boolean, every object has its own unique URL. And you can use that URL in 3 ways. First, you use it in your code. Second, you can use that URL in any browser to view the data and watch it update in real time. This is great for debugging. And the third thing you can do is use it as a normal REST endpoint. Data accessibility is a really big deal, and we take it very seriously. It's your data, and you should get to do what you want with it. The third core feature that we have, the third core concept, is that you don't need servers. This dramatically reduces the work that a developer needs to do to build an app. They don't have to write complicated backend software, they don't have to write networking software, and they don't have to worry about ops, because we're taking care of that for you. If developers want to use their own servers, they can, and we make that easy. We have a Node.js library and a REST API. The last core concept is that Firebase scales automatically. Our API works the same whether you have 1 user or millions of users. You can scale smoothly without any code changes. It's designed from the ground up for scale, and we manage the infrastructure, so you don't need to worry about it. So I've covered the 4 concepts of Firebase and how they make your development easier. So let me jump into an example and show you the details of how this works. I'm going to build a simple real-time chat application. And I'd like this to have a few features. I'd like it to handle messaging between a group of users. I'd like it to save the transcripts for later. And I'd like it to bring new users up to date when they come online. So maybe if they missed part of the conversation, they can see the history. And I'm going to do this right now live on stage. So here's an empty HTML file. I'll start with an HTML tag. And we'll add a header. And let's add a body. And now I'm going to install Firebase. You do this with 1 line of JavaScript. I now have access to a massively scalable real-time backend. I'm also going to add jQuery and a style sheet so that my application looks pretty. And we'll need a GUI, so you have a place to see your chat messages and enter new ones. Cool. Let's take a look at what this looks like. Now I've built my GUI. Let's start on the JavaScript. The first thing that you need to do in any Firebase application is you need to specify what data you would like to be synchronized. And we do this with URLs, as I mentioned. So in this example, the URL that we're going to use is demo.firebase.com/Firebase demo day. So all I have to do is say var data equals new Firebase, and then enter the URL. That gives me access to all of Firebase's functionality for the data at that URL. The next thing I want to do for this application is when somebody sends a message, I want that to write data into Firebase. And I'd like that to happen when someone presses the enter key when they've entered text in the message box. So I'm going to add a key press handler to make that happen. Okay, so this function will get called whenever somebody presses the enter key. I want this function to assemble a piece of data that's going to include the name of the user and their message, and I want to take that data and I want to push it into a list in Firebase. So we have a special function called push to make this easy for you to add items to lists in Firebase. So first I'll assemble my data object. Thank you. So I've constructed my object, and I'm going to take that, and I'm going to push it right into Firebase. Okay? This is all the work I need to do to write into a list whenever someone presses enter on Firebase. The next thing that I'm going to want to happen is when I come to a page, I want it to render the messages, and I want it to render new ones when they arrive. So I need some sort of rendering code. So I'm going to use a callback. All data in Firebase is accessible through callbacks that triggers for every item in a list, whether it already exists in that list or whether it's new data. And I can do that with the on function. This function returns to me a snapshot of the data at a particular point in time. And I can use that to extract JSON from it or do some other operations. I hope you're all checking my code out there in the audience.
D.val. D.val.
Oh, you're right. Good call. Cool. So I think this should work. Except I want a new line here. Great. So we're done. So I've just built a massively scalable real-time chat application. Let's try it out. Okay, here it is. If I go down here and I put in my name, it fails on me. So rather than debugging this live on stage, I have one that's the same without errors. So I'm just going to go to that one. All right, we'll try this one instead. So I can say this, I can send that, boom, we have chat. So there's a couple cool things you should notice here. First, when you send a message, it automatically appears on everybody else's screen. as quick as you can make it happen, if the internet works. We're gonna debug this real quick here. Oh, there we go. Just a little slow. So if I send a message, appears on the other side right away. And because this is using our API, this will scale automatically without any developer changes. It just requires us to scale, and we've built the API to do that. Another cool feature, I mentioned that I want people who come to the page to see the existing chat transcripts. And that works automatically out of the box. I click refresh, I'm not going to wait for it, but when it finishes, it'll show me. That's because we persist that data on our servers. There's one more cool thing I want to show you guys. I mentioned earlier that every URL can be entered in the browser so that you can view that data and see it change in real time. I'd like to show you that now for the URL we're using for this chat data. We're having internet troubles here. You would see, there we go. This is all the data in Firebase. It's live right here. If things change, if I enter new messages, they'll update right away on screen. So next I want to bring Vikrum up here, and he's going to show you kind of a more complicated app that's using these core ideas to build something that's a little more interesting. So, Vikrum?
Cool. Thanks, Andrew. I'm Vikrum. And so Hacker News is a great community of developers. On April Fool's, they had a front page article which was multiplayer asteroids. It turned out to be a hoax. So I took an hour of my time to make it real using Firebase. So I'm going to go over turning a single-player asteroids game into a multiplayer one. I started with a GitHub project which had roughly 1,000 lines of JavaScript, just single player. I added 50 lines of Firebase to make it multiplayer. I'm going to go over what the 3 steps were. On the left here is an image of the original code with the diffs, the changes, the additions of Firebase code in blue. So the first step is updating where my ship is. And that happens in this first section of code every time the ship moves. So in Andrew's code, you saw you could do pushes and sets. I set the ship's location every time the user moves their cursor or hits the spacebar to mash some bullets out. In the second section, I'm pushing new bullets onto the game. So those are literally the only 2 lines of code to update the ship and push bullets. Step 2 is handling collisions that I detect from other players' games, and things like playing a sound effect when I detect a collision, or decrementing their life count. So the only line of code for Firebase is the last line where I remove the Firebase reference object. And that's handling collisions. And the final step is reacting on other players' data. So in the first slide, I showed when I set new data and I push new bullets. So on this slide, The last two lines register callback handlers for new ships being added to the game and when those ships change. All I'm doing here is copying the data that Firebase is sending me and copying it to my model, my local representation of the game. And that's it. Ship it. An entire new realm of possibilities opens up with this paradigm. Now all of a sudden, with a team of just a designer and a front-end person, with Firebase, they can make multiplayer networked apps. So I'm going to see if the internet is cooperating and show it live. So we have asteroids.com. So this is a game that's happening right now. There's a couple of people playing on it. And I'll show you our graphical debugger with the state changes happening in real time. Let's see if this cooperates. You could load this same URL in your phone and see the updates happen. Maybe that'll be quicker. But yeah, try this out, mma80.firebase.com/asteroid0, and you'll see bullets and the ships persisted and being moved in real time. Cool, thank you.
Cool. So now you've got the technical bits out of the way. We're going to move on to a few demos. So we got nine 2.5-minute demos. A bunch of really great people who built some really great stuff on Firebase. So first up, we have a good friend called Smita. So she's a Stanford grad. She recently sold her last startup called Exevia, and she's now working on Smit's Crew. So Smit's Crew recreates the Uber experience for people when they go out. So I will take it away, Smita.
Cool. So hi guys, I'm Smita, and as James said, I'm part of Smit's Crew. So last November, I just quit my gig as a banker, which I was doing for a little bit after my last startup, and I met up with James. We had tequila and tacos in Soma, and I was like, James, this is it. I'm going to come back from the startup world, and I'm going to do Smit's Crew. And he was like, what do you want to do? I was like, think about it. Wouldn't it be awesome if you could, go out with your friends, find an awesome place to go, buy all your drinks, everything just on your phone. So all you need when you go out is your phone. And he's like, ooh, that's awesome. When can I join the crew? And I was like, well, I have a little bit of a problem. So he knew, James and I have known each other for years, and he knows my problem is that I know Java, but I'm more of a front-end engineer. So I'd use Google Web Toolkit to design my product, the early prototype, but I was stuck on the Hibernate piece. I knew it was going to take me weeks to learn Hibernate, to learn how to set that up with my backend Java code, set up my SQL database, set up my servers, and I was like, wow, and I haven't even proven out the concept yet. And voila, James pitched me Firebase. Back then, that was Plankton. And he was like, what if I told you you could do all of this with just a URL in your client-side code? And I was like, what do you mean? He pulled up Eclipse, he took all my server-side code, and he hit delete. And that's it, seriously. And I was like, oh my God, what do you mean that this is like work? And he was like, no, it'll be fine. And so Andrew and I then sat down, and in a week, they taught me, how to use Firebase. And literally, it was just as quick as he said it was. In December, I did my first user test. And I had hundreds of users, thinking about using it. And I'd already started bringing money in. And, fast forward a couple months later, I found an awesome co-founder, part of StartX. We have even more users using it. We figured out the whole, buying drinks on your phone, and we were processing like thousands of dollars worth of transactions every weekend. And on top of that, we have big name brands who are interested in the analytics we can provide. And we're almost done fundraising, so it's been a good couple months. But anyways, I'm going to show you our product really quickly, and hopefully it will work. So we have a HTML5 web app. And this is slightly an older version, but let me try and get back to full screen. Sweet. So we have a password. As soon as you get in, you can enter the password, which for that time was baller. You can take a look at all the different venues that you have, and we try to make it social so you can see whoever's there. You can gift them drinks. Again, these are all the friends that you have there, people part of your crew. If you hit buy specials, you get a list of the menu at the venue itself. So Hurricanes and Nolas in Palo Alto are very popular. Credit card info, tip is included, you're all set to go. So when you get to the bartender, instead of pulling out your credit card, all you have to do is show them this screen, which has your name and it has a unique identifier. On the bartender side, they either have an iPod Touch or an iPad where the same image shows up, and this is all done on a real-time basis, which is possible because of Firebase is the same node that's associated with the user, and voila, you're on your way. So yeah, that's us. This is what we do.
Cool. Thanks so much, Smita. So next up, we have a team of 4, and their product is called Mobile Graffiti. So we met them at a hackathon just about a month and a half ago called Angel Hack. So we've got Judy, Sarah, Peterson, and Fritz, and they built this together in under 30 hours. So Sarah is actually one of the authors of Flash. She was on the original Shockwave team. Sarah and Judy worked together at Blazing Cloud, which is a mobile-focused consulting company. And Peterson's an iOS developer, and Fritz is an electrical engineering student. So Judy's going to be the one presenting. So I'm going to give this over to Judy, and she can show you what she's got.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Hello. So I'm Judy from Mobile Graffiti, and what we want to do is take this and turn it into a paintbrush. So you'll take your phone and wave it around in space, and then get a 3D sculpture. So our vision, our grand vision, is to attach location data to these sculptures and leave them all over the city so that when your friends are walking down the street, they can take out their phone and then look at your sculpture in an augmented reality view. But we'll show you what we did at Angel Hack in under 30 hours, which Firebase, completely enabled us to do because it was so easy to get the data from the iPhone to Firebase to our website. So we'll show you what we did. Ready? Almost. I have to get to, okay. All right. We love Firebase.
And I actually know how to build a real-time server that synchronized data across multiple clients. I did that at Macromedia with the Flash communications server, and I couldn't have done it in a weekend. It was really fun to work with Firebase, and they're really easy API, so we didn't have to build the server side.
Cool. Thank you, Mobile Graffiti. So next up, we have TalkBox. Oh, yep, we have TalkBox. So this is Mali. We've known Mali for quite a long time. He's a technical product manager over at TalkBox. He's been there since the very early days. For those of you who don't know TalkBox, TalkBox is a company that provides an API so you can include video chat in your app wherever you like, and it's really, really easy. So I will hand this over to Mali as soon as we get the presentation up, and he'll take it away. They're building some really, really cool stuff, and they're building a companion to their existing video chat product using Firebase. So he'll describe exactly the nuts and the bolts of what they're building.
Yeah, so at TalkBox, we're trying to bring face-to-face communication to all websites and iOS apps. And we have a very similar story to Firebase. We started off as a very consumer-facing destination website, and we saw the light, and we realized that the reality was that we wanted to be a platform, because if we were where the conversation was, there was going to be a lot more video, there was going to be a lot more chat. And so we did the Silicon Valley thing, and we pivoted, and we are now happy to bring OpenTalk to a whole lot of websites with developers, but even more websites with people who just want turnkey solutions to drop onto their websites and be able to do really powerful video communication. And so that's where a lot of our partners come in. We've developed an application called TalkShow, and what TalkShow lets you do is have conversations with an audience, and these are the people who we've been developing the TalkShow application with. We've had American Idol contestants, we've had players from the New York Knicks, we've had artists from Universal Music Group, and we're really excited to continue to grow the TalkShow experience. What we found is that it takes more than just video to kind of create an experience. And on that point, we need text chat. And so for us, we need to solve the TalkShow use case and our original embed use case, which is just the turnkey, drop it on a website, let people video chat solution, by adding text chat, by letting more people be a part of the conversation, by letting the people who are nervous to go on video still be there, still be in the conversation. And that's where Firebase comes in. The reason Firebase works for us is we've had this laundry list of things to do. We've never been able to get around to text chat. James and I met on the train, and between Coal Valley and downtown built the prototype, and then our designer designed on top of it, and we'll be releasing our text chat solution in 2 weeks. And so that's the kind of power that Firebase brings. And we think Firebase, coupled with our turnkey solutions and TalkBox, is going to be a really powerful combination. Thank you to the Firebase team.
So next up, we have Stephen. So Stephen Schermerhorn used to work at Microsoft on the Expression team, and he currently works in Sysform, or at Sysform, which is a cloud storage company up in Seattle. So he's come all the way down from Seattle tonight to show us a really, really cool game that he built, and we're really excited to have him here. So, Stephen actually knows one of our engineers, Michael. Michael came on board as well. Michael's the one member of the team that you guys haven't seen on stage tonight. Michael came down and joined us from Microsoft. He came down last October, and we're really lucky to have him. He's been doing some amazing things on the front end and building our client-side libraries for us. So that's the connection to Stephen here. So I'll give it to Stephen, and off we go.
Hello, so my name's Stephen. As he said, I knew Mike from Microsoft. And Mike sent me an email saying, hey, this is what I'm working on, why don't you give it a try? So one of the things I do in such situations is I try and make some kind of board game. And I chose to do Colorado, which is a card game. It's a card game primarily about colors. So there's 7 colors, and there's 9 cards for each color in the deck, which is then shuffled up, and then a player has 2 choices on their turn. They can either draw from the deck and place it in a pile, or they can pick up a pile and make it part of their hand. The ultimate goal being that they try to get as many of the same colors as possible, so diversity isn't a good thing. So now if I just jump into the game, we can create a new game here. It requires at least 3 people to play a game, so that's why I have three browsers open here. So let's start a game here. Let's see if I can zoom out to see everything. So here's essentially gameplay. Enter each one. There's a chat that everyone can talk in. And the way I can either draw from the deck and then place it in a pile. I'll do a couple times here. And all this happens real time, so I'm essentially using Firebase to store all of my state for the game. So actually I like to actually make a lot of board games and put them online like this, but mainly the problem is I always make them local because I don't want to deal with the networking piece for it. So Firebase is really great for me for this project, because it took care of all the networking aspects to it. So you can go ahead and pick up files. And you can see it made it part of their hand. So anyway, so that's the gist of what I did. Took me about a week to get it going and then get all the UI going. So, all right, I like Firebase a lot.
Thank you. So next up we have Jeffrey Jenkins. Jeff is a good friend. Yeah, there we go. We've got some Jeff fans in the back there. Jeff has been a web developer and a product guy around many different companies, startups around the valley over the past few years. And he is one of the most interesting idea guys I've ever met. He spews out ideas, and now with Firebase, he's literally able to execute on them. So he'll turn up at the office at like 10 p.m. on a Friday and stay till like the next morning, and he'll have built a fully blown app. It's a little crazy. This is one he built at a hackathon. It's called Slide Scroll, and I think you're going to like it.
Thanks, James. So yeah, as James mentioned, I built this in a hackathon with a whole lot of Red Bull and a little bit of beer. So putting slides on the internet shouldn't be hard, but it is. Just posting PowerPoints and slides and having people being able to see them takes a long time. The big guys like WebEx and GoToMeeting require you to sign up. And even the small guys like Prezi and SlideShare still don't let you present slides and put them on the internet all at the same time. There's nothing that combines publishing and presenting into one really simple experience. So, time for a demo. So this is Slide Scroll. You can see there's a box in the center that just begs you to put your PowerPoint in. I need access to the desktop. Desktop. PowerPoints live on the desktop. So, okay, we have a PowerPoint on our desktop, just plain old regular. Everyone's seen them. Sometimes kind of boring. We're just going to drag this over into the box and let it load. You can see right away that it loads on, and that's going to the back end. And bam, there's our slides. You notice there's a live link right there. You can see the slides loading in real time. So that was the link that was created. You have some more slides? So we can just take this link right here that was created, open it up in a new slide, and there's our slides, open it up right away. That's what publishing a slide should be. Easy. So I'm going to come over here and open my iPad and type in this link that was created.
We didn't watch that.
So the same slides are on an iPad, live on the internet. But what's better, it really helps when everyone's on the same page. So I can link the slides together. So obviously the final solution is you probably want to have some video. Hey, wait, Chris is already on. So we can start publishing on video right away. So Firebase made this all really possible. All the linking and the data for the slides is all on Firebase. I did this in a hackathon. And it's taken me about a month to add the video and everything else in, and nights and weekends. And these guys made it totally possible. It made, a lot of this code, a lot of this data is all front-end code. Very little is on the back end. And they took what would have taken, as one of the last presenters said, Socket.io is really great, but it doesn't scale. This scales. Anyway, I'm really excited about this. I think it's pretty cool, even though PowerPoint is notoriously not cool. But putting your slides online and communicating with people is always a good thing. And it should be drag and drop simple. Anyway, that's it.
Did you guys like that? Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Next up, we have Ted Suzman. So Ted co-founded Graffiti Labs, which made Graffiti, which is one of the most popular Facebook apps ever, quite frankly. They've been used by up to 25 million people. So Graffiti Labs is now working on its next project, which brings us to today.
Hi guys, I'm Ted. Thanks for the intro, James.
And so we're, like as James said, we're working on a new project, and we're trying to hire engineers. And as some of you may be aware, there's kind of a dearth of underemployed, talented engineers in the general vicinity. So we've been talking to a lot of people who are remote, who live somewhere else, right? And just during the interview. But when you're trying to interview somebody remotely, there's like this class of interview problems that you it's really hard to give without a whiteboard. So we figured, okay, we'll go online and we'll find a whiteboard app so we can interview these people no matter where they are. We went online and we couldn't find a whiteboard app that was any good. Like we wanted one that had a real-time cursor so you could like see where the other person was pointing, because when you're actually using a whiteboard, you actually spend more time like pointing and gesturing at things than you do actually like writing on it. So that was really important. And we couldn't find one, which is kind of astonishing. The one didn't exist, right? When you think about it, it actually makes sense, because it turns out that writing real-time applications is hard, or perhaps I should say was hard, because now Firebase exists. So basically we decided that, hang on. That we would just write our own, because we knew we could use Firebase and it would be super simple. So like here's the result. Like I don't know if anybody's on this, but like we could probably play tic-tac-toe or something. Because it's a really simple whiteboard app. And the thing is, it took like 2.5 or 3 hours to write, and it was just astonishingly simple to do. It's just there's just a list of lines, and each line is just a list of points. So it's like this real-time list of lists that's automatically synced over the internet, and it like persists across page views. And F5 doesn't refresh on this, huh? It persists across page views. It was amazing to write. Like if there's somebody else's cursor like left on the screen when you're working on them with them in real time, there's like one line of code that gets rid of it after they quit the app. So things like that just work astonishingly well. Firebase makes it simple to do something that was hard, and that's the sign of a necessary technology. So great job, guys.
Cool. Thank you very much, Ted. So next up we have our final presentation for the evening. We have Earbits. So Ben and Joey are here tonight from Earbits, and they've turned online radio into the first real music advertising platform. So Earbits is one of Chrome's most popular web apps. It's also a Facebook-featured music service, and it's home to dozens of Grammy winners and platinum-certified artists. So here are Ben and Joey from Earbits.
All right. Just gonna take a moment here and get things roughly set up. All right. So we're Earbits. We are a marketing platform for the music industry. Do you want to up the next? Go. All right, there we go. We allow musicians, record labels to bid for the airtime on our radio platform, and then they can monetize that through ticket and album sales. It looks a little like here on the next slide, and so forth. And we actually have a very big product launch coming up at the beginning of the next month with a ton of Firebase awesomeness, but it's super secret. So unfortunately, I can't actually show you that stuff. However, what we are going to talk about is some of our very early demos that we did, and it was tremendously easy to get some very awesome, impressive results. So I think you'll enjoy that. And we'll move here. So Earbits is a backbone-based application, like several other more complex web apps. We said, wouldn't it be cool if we could make Firebase even easier? So first thing that we did was pull out the persistence layer here in Backbone and replace it with a Firebase-enabled one. So now we can take something like the to-do application for the standard Backbone, replace probably about 10 characters, 20 characters there, and suddenly the application is Firebase-enabled. So we'll dump in here, click on the task app there. So this is someone else's written code here. Internet's running a little on the wee slow side, but we will throw it up. And so just type something in here on a task. You can say Firebase is awesome. Yeah, thank you. It says kind of things, and it's probably down there to delete a few on there. It's down there. Hop up to the Firebase test on the other browser, and we can see that the thing is over there synced in real time here. So that was about 10 seconds of work. So we said, what would be cool if we did this with Earbits? Well, it turns out we get some kind of fun results. So we'll load up here. We got one browser, and we'll load up here on the next one. Let's give it a little moment. So let's pull those into Stragit so we got two windows. And so here I've got my Earbits experience in one. My friend over there has the Earbits experience in another, and I'm thinking, this is kind of cool, but let's skip a track. Friend gets the same experience onto there and stuff, and suddenly we've got a shared radio experience. Now, a couple other companies have done this, a few of them. It took them months and months. We had a working prototype in under 2 hours. So that is the power of Firebase. And unfortunately, that's about all I can tell you right now. Expect very great and awesome things here. It will be a tremendous, tremendous fun success. And in the meantime, give Firebase a test for yourself. You guys are going to find it's awesome, wonderful, amazing to work with. So thank you.
It's great for business people. I usually go, Ben, how long is it going to take to build that? And he goes, 4 weeks, and then it takes 6 weeks. But now he says 4 minutes, and it takes 6 minutes.
So that brings us to the end of our presentations. Did you guys enjoy them? We had some really cool people here, and they've done some incredible work, and we couldn't have done this without them, without their feedback. We've had I think we're up to about 100 users in our beta group now, and they are like incredibly dedicated, incredibly helpful. We send out questions, they get feedback to us within minutes, and we've been able to iterate on the product and make it as good as it is because of them. We're gonna have a quick Q&A now. So Andrew and I'll be standing up here for 5-10 minutes or however long you guys want to ask questions. Please pepper us with stuff. You probably have questions on things like pricing and security. So ask away, and yeah, we'll go for about 5 or so minutes, and then we'll let you guys get back to the drinking.
So if I know the magic URL because I like drinking, can I change all of Nova's drinks to cost 1 penny?
So the question is, if you know a URL, you go in there and modify the data. Right now with the public demo, yes, you can. We have no security features turned on for anything on the live website there. Some of our production apps do have security features. We don't have that API released. We don't have docs for it yet, but it's coming.
Can you query the number of people connected to a data?
The question is, can you query the number of people connected to a point of data? No, but you can simulate the same kind of thing by maintaining a list of the people that are connected to a point of data and having the client set up that data themselves. So if what you want to do is maintain presence data, how many people are online right now, that's really easy to do. In fact, one of our examples shows how to do that. It takes about 20 lines of code.
And when they leave, you detect that?
Yes, we detect that automatically. So the question is, when they leave, do we detect that? We have... Ted mentioned that we had a whiteboard application, and he wanted to make sure when somebody left that the state got cleaned up. He wanted the cursor to be removed. And there's one line of code that you can say, remove on disconnect, and then when that user goes away, all of their temporary state disappears.
Yes?
Wants, when security, what pricing?
I'm sorry. For security pricing, what was the first one?
Wants.
I don't know if that's a question.
Question.
So security is in the works. We have a security feature set right now. It's not public. If you need it, come and talk to us. We need beta testers. Pricing. So Firebase will be usage-based pricing, like basically every other cloud service. We are continuing to collect data right now, but we don't have any fixed numbers to share. So if you want, I want to talk about pricing with you because you'll give me some good data. So let's talk after.
How do you handle the distributed conflicts?
The question is, how do we handle distributed conflicts? This is actually the big question for any system like this. Any
We actually hired
system.
Michael. That's kind of how we deal with distributed conflicts.
So we do that by having an API that has very clearly determined behavior when data is merging between applications. There's basically two types of operations you can do in Firebase to write data. The first is a set operation, and that data merges by timestamp. So last write wins. And the other type of operation is a transaction. And transactions use optimistic concurrency, and they make the client retry transactions when there's a merge. And that allows the developer to specify with a closure, like in JavaScript, what they want to happen in a merge conflict.
Next question. Okay.
We got a couple in the back here. Let's go with back in the purple shirt. The question is, what will our security model be? So the one we're working on right now allows you to set ACLs on all of the access control lists on all of the pieces of data, and at a user-specific level, specify what operations are allowed. Like I said, we don't have that API done. We don't have the docs done. We haven't done the user testing. So I can't be really more specific than that, but it's in the works.
Yeah, so I was curious, is there going to be some sort of like server-side, data validation? Can you specify that at all? Or basically that your client-side code has to expect any JSON on that?
Right, so the question is about server-side data validation.
Is there like an admin page where you say return an error if somebody puts in some sort of data?
Okay, so the question there was, do we have some sort of admin page to allow you to set up server-side validation? No, we don't. It turns out that many apps can be built without that. Depending on the type of app, you can sometimes get away without that. And for apps that need it, we let you hook up your own server to do that validation. So we have a Node.js library. You can hook in, you can receive callbacks when certain types of operations occur, and then you can handle those appropriately. So you still get the benefits of Firebase of the scaling, of the real time, of the ease of writing code, and then you also get to handle that validation with your own server-side software if you want to.
Okay. Let's go down here in the front, Jason.
James and Andrew, it's obvious Firebase is awesome. Can you talk a little bit about,
Thank you, Jason.
Talk a little bit about the journey from startup 9 months ago to doing real-time chat. And I think I heard some of those lines in the first speech on demo day. Up until now, it must be an experience.
Thank you. Thank you for the softball. And I'll buy you drinks later. So there is actually a really interesting story. So Andrew and I have been working together. We met in high school. So in high school in Minnesota when we were sophomores. So it's been over 12 years now. So Andrew and I have been working together. We worked together on 3 previous startups. And we've been working together for almost 4 years now. The most recent company was called Involve. It was Facebook-style chat for any website. As I mentioned earlier, it's on 70,000 websites and serves tens of millions of users every month. And we started that summer of '09, and we launched it summer 2010. We went through YC last summer with Jason here. And going through YC, we were kind of thinking to ourselves, how do we take this to the next level? So we went out and we talked to a bunch of our users, and the feedback that we got back from our users was, hey, we love your chat, but we want to do way more. We want knobs and widgets and whistles, and we want to do gaming companies wanted to send game data through the chat. And so we kind of looked at where this whole space is going and really saw that it made sense to take the infrastructure that we built and turn it into Firebase so that it serves not just real-time chat, but real-time anything. We iterated on it from there, and this is where we are today.
Let's go back here, Jonathan in the blue.
Yeah, so can you talk a little bit about how you will scale so that we can feel confident to put our mission-critical data on this so that we don't have to scale?
Sure. The question is, how can you be confident that we will scale? So the most important thing I can share with you is that we've done this before. We have a chat product that's out there that handles a large number of people, tens of millions of visits every month. So we have experience building this sort of distributed system, and the architecture for Firebase is very similar. It's been improved, but it's a very similar approach. As far as how do we scale beyond that, we expect Firebase to get much bigger. One of the things we're intending to do is actually to show you in real time our own status, our own server statuses. So you can attach to a namespace somewhere and see the ping times and the service statuses and all of that data to help you feel confident. And then we're just going to have to execute and demonstrate that we're reliable over time.
So can you talk a little about cloud architecture? How is that part of it?
That's a long conversation. Let's do that another time. Let's go in the back here, Montes.
Is nvolve running on Firebase yet?
The question is nvolve running on Firebase yet? Go for it, James.
No, is the answer to that question. And the reason that it is not running on Firebase is because the architecture for Firebase is substantially different and, as Andrew said, improved. So instead of sort of modifying an existing legacy code base, we decided to start over, which turned out to be much faster. But our intention is to eventually port it over.
We've been busy. Let's go in the back.
How do you handle offline development?
Offline development. The question is, how do we handle offline development? Well, I'm going to answer two questions. First is, how do we handle offline development? We don't right now. We will hopefully at some point release a file that you can run on your own computer to simulate a local server so that you can do that yourself and you can use that for testing. This is a pretty common request. We don't have that yet. The other question I want to answer is, how do we handle offline access? And one of the cool things about Firebase, because it uses a synchronization approach rather than a messaging approach, is any app that's built on Firebase automatically works offline. So when you're in Gmail and you unplug your Ethernet, things still kind of work, and when you plug it back in, it'll resynchronize and everything keeps going. And the guys at Google did a lot of work to make that happen. We make it automatic. So if you use Firebase, your app works in offline mode automatically. So the drawing app I just showed you, if I had pulled this up on two computers, unplugged one of the Ethernet cables, drew on both of them, when I plug it back in, both of those machines will sync up and they'll draw each other's pixels on the opposite screens.
Let's take one more and then we'll wrap up.
Killed it. All right, back in the corner.
People thought you looked like Harry Potter.
Which one of us?
So when I was in high school, yes, that's a story. When I was in high school, I worked at a grocery store, stocking groceries, and I had long black hair, and it was dyed jet black, and a small child actually ran up to me screaming, "Oh my God, it's Harry Potter!" So, yes, is the answer to your question.
It's lucky you asked that.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. There's a lot of familiar faces here. Andrew and I have been in Silicon Valley now for 2.5 years, and there's been a lot of hard times, and we're really glad that Firebase is coming together. We're really glad that we've built a product, and thanks to most of you that has really turned out well. Again, if you're using it, please continue to do so, and please continue sending us the great feedback that you've had. And most of all, thank you for supporting us and for being here tonight. I think there's more beer outside, and you're free to stick around for as long as you want. So thank you.
Thank you. One quick request. If you're a Hacker News user, I think we lost our #1 spot on Hacker News, so if you guys could fix that, we'd appreciate it.